The next story we have here is about the NCAA refusing, or at least they're going to choose to not sign their contract to continue making NCAA football games with EA Sports. So what this means is that the recently released NCAA Football 14 will essentially be the last NCAA game, more or less, at least by EA Sports anyway. There was a statement here released where it says, by now most fans will have heard that EA's licensing agreement with the NCAA is set to expire and that we have agreed to part ways. EA Sports will continue to develop and publish college football games, but we will no longer include the NCAA names and marks. So, it sounds to me like EA Sports is basically going to continue making college-level games, but without the NCAA teams, which leads you to believe that they're just going to make up their own team names and all that stuff. So what do you guys think about this decision?
Well, this is actually industry changing, at least in terms of the way that sports games have come out in the past few years. I mean, since 2005 actually. If everybody remembers 2K5, a wonderful, wonderful sports game. They sold for $20 at the time, mind you. One of the best football games to have ever come out ever. 2K Sports ended up producing that, which, like I said, great, wonderful, for the 2004 season. This right here, with EA losing the contract for NCAA, they've had it the entire time, basically. I mean, so who is going to step in and pick up those reins? Not to mention, is this the first of many other steps in EA losing sports contract licensing? I had heard that there was a possibility that they weren't going to release a PGA next year. Tiger Woods game, or pro golf tournament game or whatever. Is this a systemic issue? We've never had a college football game with an actual player in it. As in, like, a real person.
Yeah.
We've never had a college football game that actually represents what the college team technically actually is.
Yeah.
We've never really had a real college game at this point. I don't care what anybody says. If the name's not on the jersey, if, we don't have the real stats, if, all these other things, then it doesn't really matter. I mean, you can try to force in the rankings and, everything out at every turn if you want to.
Yeah.
But it's still not an authentic college gaming experience.
EA's put into this boat where they have to make, their own teams and stuff like that. I mean,
what was it? The Gotham
Gotham Rogues.
Gotham Rogues.
Springfield Isotopes.
Hey, gonna win some this season?
Gonna try.
That brings up a different question. Who's to say that they couldn't do their own parody game of that, where they could take it a little bit seriously and have? Think about it. It's still a football game in essence. It still plays the same way.
Yeah, but NCAA plays exactly the same way that Madden plays.
Yeah.
Which plays exactly the same way that Madden's played for the last 6 years.
Yeah. So
Madden plays. You just buy the new roster. That's basically what you're paying $60.
It's not. You have to think they're not necessarily losing a step, but they're losing a contract, but they're not.
They're losing a ton of money.
Yeah,
and that's probably where it hurts. I haven't liked how EA has basically planted a foothold in the entire sports industry gaming market and has left it there. Madden, you should be able to make multiple NFL games. That should be done. Because I don't like the way that Madden plays. You have to add on something so much more awesome to justify a new $60 price tag.
Well, yeah, I guess especially if you're doing a huge long-term franchise like that, how often do these games come out?
Every year.
Every year, yeah.
So it's of course, you'll have to build on the last thing you did.
But they don't.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's the mistake.
Yeah.
They do these things. They make incremental improvements that nobody cares about.
Yeah. That's kind of the question I have, though. When you're talking about a sports game, with football in this case, how much more can you improve on it, really? The game is still essentially the same.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know. We didn't think that anyone could improve upon Madden until 2K5 did. Not having competition, though, is what creates stagnation.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to have at least somebody else trying at it to see what else can be done. We don't know what can be done. That's part of the problem because nobody else is doing it.
That's kind of what like really killed it, like for like you know, at least for football games for me, for like the NFL games anyway. Like once like Madden kind of took like the exclusive rights for the NFL like away from 2K in that case, because I was like you, like where I was like, you know, I was a fan of the 2K football games as well, and yeah, I just completely dropped out of it afterwards. I'm like the same thing would have happened for me for the basketball games if like EA like had NBA Live exclusive and all that stuff too, and thankfully that's not the case. In fact, it was like the opposite where NBA Live pretty much just died. So thank God.
This is better basketball game. There's no doubt about that. I just hope that somebody steps up, somebody takes over the reins, and gives us a new football experience.
Yeah.
We've been needing it for over 6 years now. You know, it's time we had something new.
Well, and
this is what will like bring that about, like not having the license and not having, I guess, like to rely on like having that license.
Well, and that's the thing, when you have one company that owns all the licenses, I mean, the NCAA engine is so close to the Madden engine it hurts, but it's not the same engine. Even though it is. I don't care what you say, it's the same thing.
If you're going to do something like this every year, of course you have to step your game up every year.
Well, I would rather it come out every 2 years, and then we just be able to buy a roster update. Give me a really good game, and if you can't improve upon it significantly, just give me the roster update. You know, put one out every 2 years instead of every year. You can still charge $20 for the roster update, and it'll still sell like hotcakes.
Yeah,
absolutely. Probably have more people buy into it because I don't have to pay $120 every 2 years now. I only have to pay $80.
You know, I mean, people are still buying it. That's the thing. People are still buying it year after year after year. So if they can get that $60 per pop, why not keep doing it?
Same argument with Call of Duty.
Yeah.
It's the same argument with a couple other games that are like that.
Yeah.
You know, like if it would make smarter business sense, in my opinion, to make it to where it is more convenient and easier for your customers than it is to make $60 raping them every time. You know, like, if it were me, you know, I'd want to do it that way, simply because I know that I would always have loyal customers.
Yeah.
If they left me, then it wouldn't be because they know that I've done them wrong. You know, EA has been coming up with the past couple of years. Mass Effect 3, on DLC on this DLC content, 1,000 other different errors they keep having.
SimCity.
You know, like SimCity. They just look like a giant money-grubbing company. Wouldn't the alternative to be a company that wants to produce just good content and people would pay for it?
That's true.
I mean, it's a
Well,
whole.
if you can make crap and people pay for the crap, then why bother making good content?
Well, I guess, but
that's again like where you have like a lack of competition come into play.
Right,
Like
right.
They don't have someone else like trying to keep them on their toes. Like it's just them basically.
Well, and that's how 2K. One of the reasons how 2K5 beat Madden that year is that Madden released at 50 and 2K5 released at 1999. That's why EA bought out the entire rights to the NFL, because they saw that there was a problem.
Yeah.
You know, that's what did it. You know, it was that price point and that quality. That quality was amazing. I'm telling you, you just can't even begin to understand. Like, it was amazing.
It was a smart move on 2K's part, but like when you look in hindsight, it was like their downfall in that sense. Like, well, I guess we can't do it anymore now. Like after we came up with this great product at this great price point and everyone loved it, well, can't do it anymore. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, they weren't allowed to. That's the thing. They weren't allowed to. But maybe now they can. You know.
For NCAA anyway, maybe.
NCAA. Who knows? Who knows what they've got planned?
Yeah.
You know, we can't say one way or the other, but I would hope that 2K would be. They should have already known this and should already be working on it.
Yeah.